Hi, this is Barry Walsh, your COVID-19 Math 10 teacher online. And today, get ready for it, systems of linear equations, the word problems. Now, I don't want you to freak out. I'm going to go through these carefully and hopefully you'll understand and maybe not be so intimidated when we're finished. So for the first word problem, I picked a nice straightforward one. No tricks here. And I'm going to have my calculator handy today because some of these calculations require a calculator. Okay, so the first one. The perimeter of a rectangle is 44.4 centimeters. The length is 8.6 centimeters more than the width. Find the length and the width of the rectangle. Okay. I'm going to do the equation first that has 44.4 in it. Now you know from probably grade 6, I'm not trying to be insulting, I'm just trying to help you to remember. And it's okay if you don't remember, that's why I'm here trying to help. So the formula that you learned in the earlier grades was twice the length plus twice the width is equal to the perimeter, right? So let's write the first equation as twice the length plus twice the width equals the perimeter is the four sides, right? So 44.4 centimeters. Now, in my notes, I wrote down to use in this particular problem that I wanted to use the letters in the problem length and width. Because if you use X and Y, then there's an extra step because you have to state somewhere that X is going to be the length and Y is going to be the width or the other way around. And you have to keep track of that. And it's easy to get mixed up. So in this one, I'm using L and W and trying to get you to remember something that you already know. Twice the length plus twice the width equals 44.4. Okay, so that's the first equation. We're done with that. So I can just cross out this part here. Now the next part says that the length is 8.6 centimeters more than the width. So instead of saying one side equals the other side plus 8.6, I like to do it this way. I like to say that if you take the length and subtract the width, that's what it's saying, you get 8.6. All right, let me say that again. The length is 8.6 centimeters more than the width. So what that really means is if you take the length and subtract the width, you get 8.6. Now I find that to be a more straightforward way of doing it. You can write it another way if you want to, but this is just my favorite way. We're going to do this one by elimination, okay? And then we'll do the next one by substitution, and then we'll do the next one by elimination. You should mix them up. I'm going to give you practice problems today, and it's important that you do some by substitution, some by elimination, just for the practice. Okay, so I'm going to use elimination here. The easiest thing to do is multiply the second equation by -2. So I bring down the first equation. I'm not doing anything to that. 2L plus 2W equals 44.4. -2 times L is -2L. -2 times -W is plus 2W. And -2 times 8.6 is equal to 17.2. Yes, correct. But it's negative. Now, the L's cancel out. You have a 2L on the top and a -2L underneath. Now for the W's, we get 2W plus 2W is 4W equals 44.4, take away 17.2. And that, I believe, is right. Yes, 27.2. And now I have to divide by 4. I hope this is making sense to you guys. 27.2 divided by 4, just making sure these are right. Okay, so I have 6.8, so this would be centimeters for my width. Now that feels right. That feels good. Now, it doesn't matter which equation you use to get L. You could use the first one, you can use the second one. I'm going to use the second one, it's a little bit simpler. So I'm going to put 8.6 right here. So L minus 6.8 is equal to 8.6. And to solve this, we have to move the negative 6.8 to the other side. L equals 8.6 plus. Remember, opposite operation, you have to add 6.8 to both sides. So 6.8. So the length is equal to 15.4 centimeters. Okay, so that's the first question. Why was this one a little bit easier? Because it incorporated something that you already knew. 2L plus 2W is the perimeter. And then we just subtracted L, take away W, to get 8.6. So I hope that was straightforward. Okay, the next question is about a county fair. Now I'm going to circle some numbers here. The red numbers are part of one equation. Okay, and the green is going to be part, that should be a W here. Sorry about that. Okay, so students and adults. So this is one of these equations that has two totals. It has a total amount of money. Let's make that our first equation. Doesn't matter which is the first equation and which is the second equation. It totally doesn't matter. In my notes, I said, okay, let's do this one using S and A, the letters in the problem. So S for students, A for adults. So that equation will be $2.75 for, whoops, I didn't mean to put an A there. I meant to put an S there. $2.75 for students. Usually students don't have to pay as much as adults because students don't have as much money. Plus $3.75 for an adult equals, now what's the total for this? $625. So this total amount has to do with money. The other total amount in the question, I'm going to write this in green just to be consistent here. The other total amount has to do with people. So students plus adults equals how many? 200. Now, this kind of question is going to be quite frequent in the questions you have to do. You have two totals. One is about money, and the other one is about something else. And you have to keep those totals straight. So you can see it wouldn't make any sense to say $2.75 times the number of students plus $3.75 times the number of adults equals 200. That doesn't make sense, does it? So keep the money straight, keep the people straight. Separate equations. Okay, I think I said I was going to do this by substitution. Now the easiest equation to fool around with substitution is the second one. So let's just say S is equal to 200, and I have to move this A over to be with the 200, so it'll be minus A. So S equals 200 minus A. Now I'm going to bring this equation down here. $2.75 times the number of students, but in place of students, we're going to put 200 minus A. Do you see what I'm doing? I am replacing I'm replacing S with 200 minus A. Because up here it says S equals 200 minus A. And I guess I'll squeeze that equation in here just to make it a little bit easier for you. I skipped a step, and I don't like doing that. All right. So do you see what I did? In this rather simple equation, S plus A equals 200, S equals 200 minus A, I'm replacing S with 200 minus A. And then I'm going to bring down the rest of the equation, plus 3.75 or $3.75 A equals 625. So when we're doing substitution, what we want is just one variable in the equation. And once we have one variable in the equation, it's straightforward. At this point in time, I can say, I think, that it's straightforward to solve it because it only has one letter. So I'm going to make sure that I get my multiplication right today. Whoops. 275 times 200 is 550. 2.75 times 200 is 550. 275 times minus A would be minus 2.75A plus 3.75A, just bringing everything down. and that equals 625. Now we can combine like terms. Yes. Our like terms here are 3.75a and negative 2.75a. That looks like we would get 1a out of that. Does that look right to you? So 550, no, that's plus 1a. 550 plus 1a equals 625. How's that look? When you add negative 2.75a and plus 3.75a, you get 1a. So these are gone now. Bring down 550, bring down 1a, bring down the equal sign, bring down 625. Now we want to move the 550 to the right-hand side of the equal sign so that a is by itself over on the left side. So we get a, or 1a, equals 625 minus 550. Now, that looks like it should be 75. Yeah, so I think that's right, 75. And that would be adults, right? Of course. Now the easiest equation by far to substitute the 75 into is s plus a equals 200. You know, as you get more confident, you can do this stuff in your head, like this step, right? So, a is 75, so I'm going to put 75 in for a. So s plus, that's an s. I don't want you to confuse my s's with my 5s. S plus 75 equals 200. And we want to get s by itself, so s equals 200 minus 75. S equals 200 minus 75, does that sound like 125? So we have 125 students and 75 adults. So that's the second question. And I do think you should, do some by substitution, some by elimination. That's the only way you're going to get good. Probably your teacher on some kind of evaluation will ask you to do something by substitution and something by elimination, and if you haven't practiced one of them, you're going to be caught, and it might be difficult. So, vary your approach. Don't use the same method all the time. Okay, question 3. Ms. Perez invested $7,000 in separate banks. Lots of people do that. The Royal Bank and the Bank of Montreal. For 1 year, she earned total interest on her bank account of $208.56. On her bank accounts, that's plural. So that's the amount she got on her 2 bank accounts. One account earned 2.6%, while the other one earned 3.4%. How much did she invest in each account? So I asked myself to use X and Y here. Doesn't matter. These ones over here were easier. 1 and 2 were easier using the letters from the problem. You can use whatever you want. I'm going to use X and Y. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing I did the last time. This is interest, okay? This is the amount of interest. For 1 year, she earned total interest of $208.56. One account, 2.6%, that's interest. The other account, 3.4%, that's interest. There's our first equation. So, in this equation, we have 2 totals. 2. One of them is interest total. So, the interest would be, remember when you change percent to a decimal, you're moving the decimal 2 places to the left. So decimal 026x, 2.6% of one account, plus 0.034, that's supposed to be a 4, y is equal to the total interest, 208.56. Okay, so here we have one total. It has to do with interest. It does not have anything to do with the total money in the bank. This equation has to do with interest. It doesn't have anything to do with the total money in the bank. The second equation has to do with money in the bank. Look. And she has 2 bank accounts. One at the Royal Bank and the other one at the Bank of Montreal. So our second equation is going to be about the total in her the total money in her total invested in her 2 bank accounts. The second equation does not have anything to do with interest. X plus y equals 7,000. So I want to emphasize that again. It sounds like I'm beating on a loaf of bread. When you make bread, you knead it. I'm using that as an example. You knead it over and over again. I'm repeating this over and over again because it really requires repeating. It needs to be repeated. One equation is about the total amount of money in the bank. Bank account, Bank of Royal Bank. Bank account, Bank of Montreal. Total in the bank. Up here, interest. 0.02x times the money she has in the Royal Bank. 0.034 times the money she has in the Bank of Montreal equals the total interest. So this is interest, interest, interest. This one, total money, total money, total money. Total money in the Royal Bank, total money in the Bank of Montreal, and over here, the total in both of them. All right, so if I use elimination on this one, the easiest thing to do is to multiply this equation by negative decimal 026. So I'm going to bring down the first equation. Don't have to do anything with it. Do not have to multiply anything by the first equation. Now when you get into decimals, you just have to be really careful that you don't make a careless mistake. And I'm hoping that I'm not going to do that. So negative decimal 026 times x, negative decimal 026x. So that sets up our elimination here. Negative decimal 026 times y is negative decimal 026y. And negative decimal 026 times 7,000. Just want to make sure. Negative decimal 026 times 7,000 equals negative 182. So this cancels out. Now I know what I think this is, but you know what? Because it's decimals and I'm a little bit tired, I'm going to do this on the calculator. Yep, that's what I thought it was, but I wanted to be sure. Decimal 008y equals 208 decimal 56 minus 182, 2656. So what do we have to do to solve this? Sometimes the numbers get wacky. I purposely chose these decimal percentages. I did that on purpose when I made these up, because I want you to get used to things that aren't always round numbers, right? So 2656 divided by decimal 008, y is equal to 3320. So what does that represent? That represents the amount that she's got in one of the banks. And I'm going to use this equation to find out the simple equation. I'm not going to substitute it into this one. If I did do that, and you could, the probability of making a mistake is higher, so I'm going to use the simpler equation. Okay, so y is 3,320, so x plus 3,320 is equal to 7,000. And we have to get x by itself, so 3320 has to come over to the other side. We have to subtract it, opposite operation. 7,000 subtract 3320, 7 subtract 3320 equals 3680. Okay, so how much did she invest in each account? She invested 3680 in one of her accounts, and in the other one $3,320. I have some practice questions that I'm going to get for you now. I just happen to have them close by. Okay. And hopefully you can see those just fine. Okay, there's 9 of them. And I carefully made these up. I looked through the book. I'm trying not to give you anything too hard the first time through. I think I'll do 2 lessons on these word problems. So, as always, stop the recording and with your phone take a picture of this. I have all the answers here. They're not in order. I've got 2 of them up here and 2, 4, 6, 7 down here, a total of 9. So I want you to try them. Elimination and substitution, mix them up, and you're only going to get good at word problems. It's the same thing as before if you practice them. Many of them are the same. They really are. There are some that are different and are a little bit harder, but for the most part, they are straightforward. So please try these, and I think probably for the next lesson I'm going to do number 9, because there is a little trick in this one. So next lesson, the first thing I'll do as an example is this one, number 9. So if you find this one hard, it's just, you just have to think a little bit about this one, but that's what I'll do. I'll do it first next time through. Okay, guys, thanks so much for watching. Have a great day.